They say sex is just physical, a moment of pleasure, a natural urge. But what if I told you it's something far more dangerous, something ancient and deeply spiritual, something that dark forces have been harnessing for centuries? Here's the real question. Why do nearly all secret occult rituals, from the ancient cults to modern satanic circles, obsess over one thing: sexual energy? Why is it always involved? This isn't just conspiracy talk, from hidden texts to whistleblower confessions. There's a recurring theme. Sex is power, and when misused, it becomes a gateway, a direct line to darker dimensions most of us can't even imagine. Now here's the twist most people miss. Every time you give in to casual lust, every time you scroll mindlessly through explicit content, you're not just wasting time, you're feeding something that thrives on your energy, your focus, your spiritual life force. It sounds insane until you realize just how deeply modern culture has normalized this exact behavior. And maybe that's not a coincidence. But here's the part no one tells you. Once you understand how this system works, you can break it. You can stop being drained. You can take back control of your energy, your focus, your life. Stay till the end, because what you'll learn isn't just shocking. It could literally shift the way you view your desires, your habits, and even your soul. We're about to expose the blueprint of a hidden spiritual war, a war where your lust isn't just weakness, it's currency. What if the most powerful force inside you isn't your mind, but your desire? Not in a dirty or shameful way, but in a raw, untapped spiritual way that ancient civilizations once revered, but modern society has reduced to cheap entertainment. Sexual energy isn't just about pleasure. It's the creative force of life itself. The same energy that creates a human being is the same energy that, when refined, has been said to awaken intuition, fuel divine purpose, and even unlock higher consciousness. This isn't some new age fantasy. It's a truth echoed through ancient cultures, hidden texts, and spiritual disciplines that predate modern religion. In ancient India, this energy was known as Shakti, the primal feminine power that drives all creation. Yogis spoke of kundalini, a dormant serpent energy at the base of the spine that, once awakened, could lead to spiritual enlightenment. In Taoism, this force is referred to as Jing, the essence of life stored in the kidneys, which must be preserved and cultivated to extend vitality and wisdom. Even in Egyptian mysteries, sacred sexual practices were used in rituals to activate divine potential, not to serve lust, but to transcend it. Compare that to the modern world. Today, sexual energy is mostly seen through the lens of indulgence, used, abused, and discarded like fast food. It's transactional, shallow, disconnected from anything sacred. The media glorifies it, the internet sells it, and most people spend it daily, mindlessly, never realizing they're draining their most powerful internal force. The ancients believed that wasting this energy weakens the spirit. That lust, when uncontrolled, binds you to lower frequencies, making you easier to manipulate. Sound familiar? So while modern culture tells you to chase pleasure without consequence, ancient wisdom tells you the opposite. Control it, and you gain mastery over yourself. Suppress it blindly, and you suffer. Indulge it blindly, and you decay. But transform it, and you rise. Understanding this is the first step, because once you start to see your own sexual energy as sacred, powerful, and spiritual, you begin to question who or what benefits, when you're taught to treat it like it's worthless. And that's exactly where the trap begins. In the darkest corners of spiritual history, there's one theme that consistently returns. Sex isn't just pleasure, it's power. Occultists, satanic cults, and esoteric secret societies have long believed that sexual energy is one of the most potent forces in the human body, and they don't just admire it, they use it, not for love, not for connection, but to bend unseen energies to their will. Why? Because sexual energy is creative energy. It's the same force that brings life into existence, pure, concentrated vitality. And where most people waste it, these groups have developed rituals to channel it. To them, it's a spiritual currency. The more intense the energy, especially during heightened states like orgasm, the more powerful the ritual becomes. Now here's where it gets disturbing. In many dark rituals, sex isn't a side effect, it's the main event. These ceremonies are carefully orchestrated to align with specific lunar phases, astrological timings, or bloodlines. The participants aren't just expressing desire, they're trained to direct that energy toward a spiritual target. Whether it's summoning an entity, opening an astral portal, or charging an object with power, The climax of the act serves a deeper purpose to tear the veil between dimensions. Why the obsession with orgasm? Because at that exact moment, something shifts, thought dissolves, time disappears, and in those few seconds your consciousness becomes incredibly vulnerable. For occult practitioners, this is the energetic doorway, the portal where intention, emotion, and spirit collide. If done with precise symbolism, incantations, and sacrifice, it's believed this moment can amplify the energy of a ritual tenfold. But there's a darker layer. Some groups deliberately seek out victims, especially the young or innocent, believing their pure energy holds more spiritual charge. Traumatizing someone during a ritual is believed to fracture their psyche, creating a stronger energetic burst. This twisted belief is why abuse isn't an accident in these circles. It's a deliberate tool. Trauma, fear, and sexual energy are seen as accelerants. Most chilling of all, these practices aren't always ancient history. Whispers of modern elites participating in spiritual orgies, ritual abuse, or energy harvesting events are constantly surfacing, only to be quickly discredited or buried. But the symbols don't lie. From red carpets to music videos, from statues to corporate logos, certain signs keep appearing, and those signs often trace back to old belief systems where sex was never casual. It was ceremonial, either in the light or in the shadow. In contrast to spiritual traditions that treat sexual energy as sacred and healing, satanic and occult groups often use it destructively, not to uplift the soul, but to manipulate reality. The energy is the same, but the intention behind it changes everything. One path leads to awakening, the other to control. When you understand this, you stop seeing lust as just natural. You start questioning who benefits from a world that encourages constant sexual indulgence, and you begin to protect what was always meant to be sacred, the raw spiritual fire inside you. Because whether you realize it or not, your energy is valuable, and someone somewhere is always trying to take it. Imagine a form of energy so potent it can create life, transform consciousness, and tear open spiritual gateways. That's the nature of sexual energy, and it's exactly why it plays such a central role in powerful rituals across both sacred and dark traditions. At its core, it's not about the physical act. It's about the raw, unfiltered life force behind it. In ancient spiritual systems, this energy has been referred to by many names. In Hinduism, it's known as kundalini, a serpent-like energy said to rest coiled at the base of the spine. When awakened through spiritual practice, it rises through the chakras, igniting higher states of awareness, deep inner power, and sometimes even mystical experiences. This same energy, when misdirected or manipulated, can lead to obsession, confusion, or spiritual breakdown. That's how powerful it is. In tantric traditions, sexual union wasn't viewed as sinful, it was seen as sacred. When two people connected consciously, their energies intertwined in a dance of divine creation. But that same principle, when twisted, becomes a weapon in the hands of dark practitioners. Instead of guiding the energy upward for spiritual growth, they drive it downward, grounding it in base desire and using it to manipulate outcomes in the physical world. The real secret: at the height of sexual arousal, a person's logical thinking begins to dissolve. The neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, judgment, and self-control, shuts down. This is why people often make impulsive decisions in states of lust. But to occultists, this is the perfect moment, when the rational guard drops and raw energy takes over. In this state, the subconscious becomes open, ready to be programmed with intention, symbolism, or demonic influence. It's not just about pleasure, it's about control. During rituals, sexual energy is often weaponized to direct intense emotional frequencies: lust, fear, submission, ecstasy toward a desired outcome. Whether it's manifesting wealth, summoning a spirit, or binding someone energetically, the practitioner uses sexual charge as fuel. The more intense the energy, the more powerful the result. Some rituals even involve group sexual acts designed to create a collective energy field. This battery of emotion and arousal becomes a spiritual amplifier, raising the vibrational intensity of the space to attract or command otherworldly forces. In these moments, the body is just a tool. The real ritual is happening on the energetic plane. In darker practices, the energy is not just channeled, it's sacrificed. The orgasm, often viewed as a sacred climax in spiritual teachings, is here treated as an offering, a release of power into the ritual, handed over to whatever force is being invoked. When performed with twisted intention, this act is no longer sacred. It becomes spiritual currency exchanged in shadow, Understanding this gives you a new lens through which to see your own desires. You begin to recognize the fine line between sacred use and spiritual theft. You see why constant stimulation weakens your will, and how controlling this energy can make you sovereign. Because those who know how to master their sexual energy don't just become more disciplined, they become unstoppable. There's a reason the darkest rituals aren't just secret, they're brutal. In satanic and extreme occult doctrines, consent isn't a virtue, it's an obstacle. To understand why, you have to step into their twisted logic. The greater the emotional shock, the stronger the energetic imprint. And that's where things get deeply disturbing. In these belief systems, pain, fear and trauma are not unfortunate side effects. They are the fuel. Non-consensual acts, especially when sexual, generate intense emotional and energetic explosion. These emotions, terror, shame, powerlessness, are considered extremely potent when harnessed during rituals. It's not just about control over a person, it's about hijacking their life force in its most vulnerable, fractured state. This is where power dynamics come into play. Occult rituals are often built around hierarchies. The master takes from the subject. It's a complete reversal of divine spiritual principles, where connection and alignment with higher consciousness are achieved through love, discipline, and truth. In dark rituals, power is gained through domination, humiliation, and the destruction of innocence. The more helpless the victim, the more pure and unfiltered their energy is believed to be. Why does trauma matter so much to them? Because it imprints. Trauma leaves energetic scars, memories etched not just in the brain, but in the subtle body, the aura. In moments of extreme shock, a person's energetic boundaries collapse. This state is ideal for programming. Intentions, symbols and entities can be impressed upon the victim's consciousness during these moments, leaving long-term psychological and spiritual wounds. Some survivors of these rituals report recurring nightmares, fragmented memories, sudden personality shifts, and lifelong struggles with addiction or self-harm. These symptoms aren't accidental. They're the byproducts of intentional spiritual violation. The ritual doesn't end when the act does. The effects linger, sometimes for a lifetime, because the energy extracted wasn't just momentary, it was deeply embedded. Even more disturbing is the belief system that justifies it all. In many satanic ideologies, suffering is seen as liberation, causing pain is equated with divine rebellion. Some claim that violating natural law is a form of enlightenment, that by rejecting morality and transcending empathy, they become godlike. Others take it further, suggesting that the victim offers power by being broken, that this is a form of sacrifice to higher dark entities. To outside eyes it's pure evil, but to them it's ritualized power extraction. A system designed to harvest spiritual energy by ripping apart the soul. This is why awareness is so important. When people say energy is everything, they're not wrong. And when society normalizes domination, celebrates degradation in media, or treats violation as entertainment, the lines begin to blur. The darkness hides in plain sight, disguised as pleasure, masked as rebellion. But once you understand the mechanics, you no longer fall for the illusion. You begin to see that the real rebellion isn't indulging in chaos. It's protecting your soul in a world that wants to strip it from you, piece by piece. It's easy to dismiss casual lust as harmless, just a bit of fun, a natural craving, something everyone does. But underneath the surface of hookup culture, porn addiction and compulsive self-pleasure, lies a deeper spiritual cost that most people never consider. You're leaking energy, constantly, silently, and someone somewhere is benefiting. Your sexual energy is your most potent life force. It's the same energy that fuels creativity, confidence, clarity and purpose. But every time you indulge in lust without intention, whether through mindless swiping, endless scrolling on explicit content, or emotionless hookups, you're not just wasting time, you're draining yourself of the very power that could be building your future. Think about it. After a quick dopamine hit from porn, or a meaningless sexual encounter, how do you feel? Empty, tired, guilty. That's not random. That's your energy body responding to depletion. And over time, this consistent leakage creates holes in your spiritual field, openings through which lower energies can latch on. This isn't just metaphysical theory. Across ancient traditions, it's said that where your attention goes, your energy flows. Porn doesn't just trap your mind, it hijacks your focus. You give your most intimate energy to a screen, to images programmed for addiction, often backed by dark industries that thrive on your craving, and you walk away weaker every time, thinking it's normal. Now imagine millions of people doing this daily, an entire generation feeding the digital ether with raw, unfocused sexual charge. It becomes a feeding ground for unseen forces, not just corporations profiting from your clicks, but energetic entities drawn to lust, shame and guilt, lower frequencies that keep you spiritually numb and disconnected. The more you feed lust, the more you descend into lower vibrational states. These are the zones of addiction, confusion, insecurity and impulsiveness. And in these states, you become easier to control, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. You start chasing validation instead of purpose, pleasure instead of peace. You begin to feel powerless, not realizing it's because you're constantly giving your power away. Hookup culture may feel empowering on the surface. No strings, no rules, total freedom. But what kind of freedom leaves you feeling drained, disrespected, or used? What kind of liberation is based on emotional detachment and energetic loss? The truth is, what's marketed as empowerment is often enslavement in disguise, an endless cycle of stimulation with no satisfaction. And here's the irony. The more you chase pleasure, the less of it you feel, because real pleasure, deep, soul-aligned pleasure, comes from integrity, presence, and conscious connection, not from unconscious release. When you begin to hold your energy with respect, everything changes. You feel stronger, more focused, more creative. You stop chasing and start attracting. You begin to rise out of the noise, while others stay trapped in it. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to become aware. Because once you realize how powerful your energy truly is, you'll never waste it again. You've seen it flashing across music videos, embedded in movie scenes, stitched into fashion designs. The symbols are everywhere. Pentagrams, checkerboard floors, red rooms, serpents, black wings, blindfolds, masks, and the infamous one-eye pose. Most people brush them off as aesthetic choices or marketing gimmick. But when the same patterns repeat across different artists, brands, and industries, year after year, it stops looking like coincidence and starts to feel like programming. Pop culture has become the perfect delivery system for subliminal influence. It speaks directly to your subconscious, bypassing logic, embedding itself in your emotional body. You hum the songs, mimic the dances, wear the clothes, without realizing you're also absorbing the energy and meaning behind them. And many of these messages are far darker than they appear. Music videos, for instance, often blend hypersexualized imagery with occult symbolism. The performer becomes a goddess, devil, or sacrifice. Blood-red lighting, ritualistic choreography, cages, chains, blindfolds. These aren't just edgy visuals. They're references pulled straight from occult lore and ritual design. They glorify submission, lust, and domination. And the more they're consumed, the more normalized they become. Fashion, too, isn't immune. High-end runway shows have increasingly embraced satanic themes, mock sacrifices, upside-down crosses, Baphomet-inspired accessories. Even children's clothing lines have subtly introduced demonic or sexualized symbolism, and the media calls it bold or artistic. But ask yourself, who benefits when darkness becomes trendy? Movies and streaming platforms go further. Think about how often you see possession, ritual abuse, orgies, or demonic characters portrayed with flair. Darkness is often romanticized. Villains become relatable. Lucifer becomes a charming anti-hero. Over time, the line between right and wrong begins to blur in the audience's mind. When your subconscious is constantly exposed to distorted ideas of sex, power, and morality, it begins to reshape your beliefs without you ever realizing. This isn't just about scaring you, it's about waking you up. The human brain is wired to pick up patterns, even when you're not consciously aware of them. That's what makes subliminal messages so dangerous. They don't demand your attention, they steal it. And if you're constantly feeding your mind with images charged with low vibrational energy, don't be surprised when you start feeling anxious, disconnected, or numb. You're under influence, and it's not benign. But here's the power. Awareness breaks the moment you start noticing the symbolism, the manipulation loses its grip. You stop blindly absorbing and start questioning. You choose what enters your mind and energy field. You become harder to influence, harder to control. Spiritual defense isn't about fear. It's about clarity. It's about learning to see through the illusion and understanding that your mind and energy are precious. What you watch, listen to, wear, and celebrate matters. It either nourishes your soul or drains it. The world isn't just entertaining you, it's educating you every day through symbols. The real question is, who's writing your curriculum? Your sexual energy is your most sacred currency. It's the fuel behind your focus, ambition, creativity, and even your spiritual connection. But in a world designed to exploit that energy through screens, apps, media, and culture, you can't afford to live unconsciously anymore. If you want to reclaim your power, you must learn to guard it like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. The first step is discipline, not repression, not shame, but a conscious redirection of your sexual energy. That's where celibacy, or more accurately, sexual transmutation comes in. Celibacy doesn't mean denial of desire. It means honoring that desire, understanding its power, and using it as fuel for fruit rather than release. Ancient sages, warriors, and mystics practiced this, not out of fear, but because they knew that holding and channeling that energy could lead to brilliance, insight, and mastery over the self. For those who choose intimacy, the key isn't abstinence, it's sacredness. Sexuality can be healing, powerful, and spiritually elevating when it's rooted in love, presence, and intention. But if it's transactional, addictive, or used to escape emotions, it becomes draining. Sacred sexuality means every touch, every exchange is done with reverence, not just for the body, but for the soul within it. When two people unite with aligned energy, the experience becomes regenerative, not depleting. But none of this is possible without first detaching from lust-based systems. That starts with a porn detox. Pornography conditions the brain to seek constant novelty, instant gratification, and detachment from real emotion. Over time, it dulls your senses, fragments your attention, and drains your energy, even if you don't feel it right away. A detox isn't just about quitting a habit. It's about rewiring your brain, reawakening your senses, and giving your spirit space to breathe again. It also means breaking the cycle of meaningless hookups, late-night scrolling, and sexual conversations that leave you feeling empty. Every harmless flirt, every indulgent fantasy, every time you cross your own boundaries, it all adds up. These aren't small leaks, they're energetic hemorrhages, and they leave you tired, anxious, distracted, and spiritually vulnerable. To truly protect your energy, you must raise your vibration. That begins with intention and purity. What are you allowing into your mind daily? What kind of content are you feeding on? Who are you exchanging energy with? When you start living with clarity and purpose, your frequency changes. You stop attracting chaos and start drawing in peace, focus, and opportunities aligned with your highest path. Purity doesn't mean perfection. It means alignment. It means taking responsibility for your energy and choosing not to waste it on what doesn't serve your evolution. Whether you walk the path of celibacy, sacred union, or mindful discipline, the goal is the same, to become the master of your desire, not the slave of it. Because when you reclaim your sexual energy, you don't just feel stronger, you become unstoppable. There comes a moment on every spiritual path where you have to choose, will you rise, or will you remain in the patterns that keep you drained? This isn't just about morality, it's about energy, about reclaiming what's always been yours but was stolen, suppressed, or sold to systems that thrive on your weakness. Your sexual energy was never meant to be demonic or dirty. It was always divine. It is the spark of life itself. The same force that brings a soul into this world also fuels your passion, your intuition, your creative fire, your ability to connect to the unseen. It's not meant to be wasted on addiction, shame, or casual indulgence. It's meant to be honored, guarded, and refined. For too long, darkness has profited from your unconsciousness. Every moment you lived in guilt, confusion, or lust, without awareness, something was feeding on that energy. But here's the truth. The moment you become aware, the spell begins to break. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to erase the past. You simply have to remember who you are and what you're capable of when you stand in your full power. Because the light isn't found in some far-off place. It begins the moment you choose to protect your soul. The moment you stop trading sacred energy for fleeting pleasure. The moment you stop scrolling, numbing, chasing, and start feeling, healing, and creating again. This is the real spiritual war. Not angels and demons clashing in the sky, but choices made in silence. What you give your energy to, what you believe you deserve, Whether you let the world shape you or you shape the world through the power you hold within, no one is coming to save you, but the beautiful part is, you don't need saving. You need remembering. You were born with everything you need to protect your mind, your body, your spirit. And no matter how far you've gone, you can always return to your center. Always. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are a vessel of light, living in a world that profits from your darkness. But when you reclaim your energy, your attention, your sacred fire, everything begins to shift. You stop being a puppet in someone else's system. You become a conscious creator of your own reality. And that right there is the greatest threat to the system that's been feeding off you all along. So choose to rise. Choose clarity. Choose to protect what is sacred. Because the moment you do, you stop feeding the darkness. And you start becoming the light. You've just explored a truth most people will never dare to see. The world has conditioned you to treat your sexual energy like it's cheap. Something to be spent recklessly, consumed casually, or buried in guilt. But deep down, you've always felt it. There's something sacred about it, something powerful. And now you know why. This energy isn't meant to be wasted. It's meant to be protected. Because the moment you begin to see it for what it truly is, a gateway, a life force, a divine flame, you also start to see the systems built to drain it. Porn, hookup culture, entertainment. They aren't harmless distractions. They are carefully crafted traps designed to keep you weak, addicted, and disconnected from your purpose. But the darkness only wins when you stay asleep. The moment you wake up to this manipulation, everything changes. You start to move differently, think differently. You begin to take your power back, not through anger or fear, but through awareness, through discipline, through truth. You don't need to be perfect to begin this path. You just need to decide no more giving away your energy to things that don't serve your growth. No more being unconscious with the most powerful force inside you. No more allowing lust to lead when your spirit is screaming for direction. This journey isn't about shame. It's about sovereignty. It's about remembering who you are beneath all the noise, the cravings, and the distractions. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are a force capable of rising above the systems built to consume you. So protect your energy. Reclaim your focus. Honor your soul. Because in a world full of spiritual theft, choosing consciousness is the most rebellious act of all.